welcome to Little Rissington, where it's all systems go for the 1977 British National Scale Contest. One of the first to fly off the blue flight line, Tom Airy with his SE-5A, modified from a top flight kit, scale of 1/6, and it's a 1914 to 18 fighter aircraft. This model has a Ross inline engine, very smooth and quiet, with a scale exhaust fitted and double silencers inside. This is the first time Tom has flown in a scale contest at national level. He's been sport flying, control line for 24 years and 10 years flying radio. Nice landing near the spot. Tom Airy from New Cheriton, Hampshire. Preparing to fly, Ricky Shaw from Worthing, member of the Sussex Radio Flyers. This well-known quarter-scale model of a Fournier RF5 took 500 hours to complete. The full-size version belongs to Sport Air Flying Club at Biggin Hill and is used for fun flying and training. Into a smooth takeoff we know to expect from this lad. Ricky's 10 years of flying RC really comes over in a superb flight pattern of this powered glider. He's clocked up several firsts in major competitions and came 7th at last year's Nationals. This aircraft controls exactly to its full-size counterpart, and additional to the normal controls has spoilers and a purpose-built main wheel retract unit. A performance much appreciated by the crowd, rounded off by a real greaser of a landing. The Martinsyde G102 Elephant of 27 Squadron flew as a single-seat bomber on the Western Front in 1917. This model, flown by Eric Coates, is 1/7 scale and spans 65 inches. Powered by an OS-60 engine, it took 18 months to build, and the control system is 5-channel Futaba. Eric must be well known for his articles in magazines and 30 years in the modelling game. Past successes are a 3rd at Metz in 75, 3rd at the Nationals in 76, and a couple of seconds 2 years running at the Southern Gala at Odeon. Another example of First World War aircraft, the beautifully detailed model BE-2E. Scaled to 1/6, she spans 80 inches and is light at 9.5 pounds. The features include the exhaust venting through scale pipes, scale bungee suspension, spoked wheels, and the capability to drop bombs. All landing and flying wires are functional. A modeller for many years, Roy Yates is well known for his column in Radio Modeller magazine, and he has represented Great Britain in international scale contests. The full-size version was first used by 21 Squadron in the Battle of the Somme and went through to 1918 as a bomber, fighter and reconnaissance aircraft with a top speed of 85 miles per hour. In watching the precise flying to scale speed, it is not surprising that Roy has been a national champion, 3 times winner of the Ripbag Scale Trophy, and gained high awards internationally. Now we come forward 20 years to another war, the AHE D3A1 Type 99 Japanese dive bomber, codenamed by the Allies Val. This type helped set the ball rolling at Pearl Harbor in December of '41 and continued throughout the war in the Pacific. The model is flown by Tony Lunch. He has a span of 77 inches, powered by an OS-60 engine, and uses Skyleader SLX 6 gear, representing 800 hours of hard work. A superb landing by an ex-national champion has also flown for Great Britain in many competitions. Spanning 8 feet to a scale of 2/9, the Aronca C3, entered by Reg Gig, faithfully copies the American 1933 design. An ultra-lightweight prototype, the model powered by a twin Mirco 61 quietly swings a 14x4 propeller. The rigging is for real and the doors open, giving access to the radio gear beneath the seats. Reg has had 20 years of experience, but we understand that this model flies quite well without any interference by him. Maybe not what's meant by the trade name Flymo, but the lawnmower built by Len Mount literally does just this. Len, of course, is better known for flying helicopters, but his performance provided a bit of light relief at lunchtime. Roy Yates and Eric Coates take time off to judge the Ryan STA Special, one of the 5 entries in Class 1. The owner, Joe McCullum from the Ulster Club, took 1,500 hours to complete this masterpiece, which is 1/5 scale and has flaps and operating lever trim tabs. The full-size aircraft was built in the late 30s and is based at Rockford, Illinois, where it performs regularly at air shows piloted by Joe Gosner. An imaginative entry by David Vaughan, the Martin Baker MB2, 1/6 scale, 68 inches span with a Weber Speed 60, Delta radio gear. The model embodies a feature of the full-size aircraft by the raising of a pylon, which when the flaps are lowered, goes up and down. Designed as a utility fighter, the prototype at a top speed roughly between that of a Hurricane and Spitfire, and was popular with ground crews for its ease of servicing, particularly the fast gun pack replacement. David tells us she's quite a handful to fly, with a tendency to float on landing. The superbly detailed cockpit and occupant of this model, planned originally as a Class 1, enhances the Experimental Aircraft Association Special Biplane Model P. Built to quarter scale, it's authentic in every aspect, right down to the wing and tailplane incidences and undercarriage springing. Bill Nixon spent 700 hours spread over 2 years to complete the model. This being his first attempt at designing from scratch, it evolved from original drawings and photographs to the full-size version based at Goodwood, which makes regular flights. Futaba is the gear and the motor an HP61 with a peri-carbon fuel pump. Bill has followed the original construction faithfully, using sheet metal where demanded. A modeler as a schoolboy who returned to the fold less than 5 years ago. Two Flying Fortresses B-17Gs were entered. The first modelled on the aircraft General Ike, which was christened by the General himself with a bottle of Mississippi River water. Flown here by Brian Taylor for its owner, Mr. R. Ingram. The second Fort, built and flown by multi-engine enthusiast Albert Briggs from the Elmbridge Club, bears the insignia of the 91st Bomber Group. 1/16 scale, spans 78.5 inches, powered by 4 Oliver Tiger diesels. 6 months' work went into its construction. Owing to a double-engine failure on one wing, this was the unfortunate result. In spite of its appearance, however, Albert, with over 40 years of experience, has every hope of getting it all together again. Cliff Meredith hurries to the flight line to fire up his Mew Gull E3H, a radio modeler for 3 years. This is his first serious attempt at scale, built from a unique model semi-kit to a quarter scale. Airspace seems a bit crowded during the flight pattern. This Mew Gull is based on Edgar Percival's own aircraft. In 1937 it attained the fastest average speed of 238.7 miles per hour and took third place overall in the handicap. The Hawker Tempest 5 Mark II at 1/6 scale was entered by Jeff Pomfret, a modeler for 25 years. Special features are retracts and flaps. The full-size version, designed by Sidney Cam, was a versatile fighter in the latter part of World War II. Oh dear. Looks as if the high wind is starting to take its toll. One of the Hurricanes entered in the contest was flown by Roy Godfrey of the Liverpool Club. Bedevilled with radio problems throughout the competition, this, his first flight, ended in a dead stick landing. Unfortunately, the model was written off during the second flight. Alex Horn from Bromley prepares his Russian Yak-18. The full-size aircraft is well known for its aerobatic performances. The takeoff run looked promising enough, but oh, the gremlins are having a field day. Bitter disappointment for Alex, the damage being worse than it appears. No more flying in this contest. Wonderful interior detail on this Fiesler Storch, built by Roger Weber to 1/6 scale from a Sid Morgan plan. The model performs as its full-size counterpart with a short takeoff and rapid climb-out. Roger, who started with a kit bought for 1/11, has fitted the Storch with flaps, navigational and landing lights. With a model that flies as slowly as this, who needs a helicopter? Mr. A. Sims has trouble starting his Percival Provost. John Waters built his Sphinx Acromaster in 4 months and has put in a lot of flying time with this model. 2.5 inches to the foot scale, the full-size version was a one-off, built in 1970, which came third in the World Championships aerobatics. John is lucky to have his wife calling the flight pattern. They make a very fine team. A short discussion with fellow members of the Skymaster team before Phil Ramsey flies his pit special. Living up to its aerobatic reputation, a nice inverted pass. The judges will like that. Phil intends to produce his own kit for this model shortly, but you will have to provide your own talent to put in this sort of flying. This P-47D Thunderbolt was modelled to 1/8 scale on Lieutenant Frank Kleeb's Little Chief of 61st Squadron US Air Force. Built and flown by Fred Coulson to second place in the Class 2 section, it has retracts including tail wheel and full working flaps and needing 7 servos in all. The model detailed finish here is terrific, and the polished performance reflects the pilot's 10 years of modelling. Obviously a Class 1 entry, the CA Wirraway by David Vaughan. Pressed into service to fulfill many roles when the Japanese threatened Australia, the full-size version was really a North American Texan, or British Harvard, built under license and given this typical Aussie name. This superb model to 1/7 scale is finished as the original, exhibited in a Melbourne museum. David has several seconds and thirds to his credit and was first in this contest in 1976, but had to be content with second place this year. Tim Ruck, a fisherman from Rye, has built several versions of the Martin Baker fighter. This, the MB-5, and later far more sophisticated aircraft than the MB-2, had retractable undercarriage and was powered by a Rolls-Royce Griffon engine. The retract gear on the model has given trouble in the past and looked for a time to be a bit sticky on this flight. Of the total entry of 46, we've only been able to show you half of the flyers. Pity that the winners, Mick Reeves and Terry Melanie, were always on the opposite flight line from the cameraman. We wish we'd had a crystal ball. Flight controller John Adams must be relieved that all went so smoothly. The Nats can be relied on for some first-rate models and flyers, with Little Rissington 1977 being no exception.